Hello, everyone. I'm coming in from Las Vegas. I hope Maryland is treating you well. Thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with me. My name is Carmen Pangilinan. Online, I go by Carmen on Chain. I'm a director at the Alignment Ethics Institute. I'm also a strategic advisor for the Digital Asset Regulatory Authority Task Force for AI Agents. And I'm also an advisor for the Blockchain Legal Institute. Now, I know those titles sound technical, so here's the honest version. My whole career has been about translation. I sit between the engineers who build these systems, the regulators who write the rules for them, and the people who actually have to live with them. Before any of that, I spent over 25 years in business development and sales operations. And here's the part that matters for this hour. I have never written a line of code by hand. Yesterday, some of the folks in this conference heard a talk I gave for business leaders about AI agents and governance. This hour is very different. This hour is for you. It's not for the executives, it's not for the engineers, it's meant for the everyday person because something changed in the last 2 years. And I don't think anyone has properly sat down and told regular people like you and I what that means for them. That's what we're going to do together. By the end of this hour, you will understand what AI actually is and what blockchain actually is in very plain English. You will own about 11 new words that make up the whole conversation and make it less intimidating. And you'll have one small, safe, concrete thing you can do this weekend, and that's a promise. So let's get to it. First, let me tell you who I made this for. Odds are that you're at least in one of these three boxes. Maybe you're changing careers or thinking about it. And every post you look at, there's something and someone and some company that seems to want skills you don't have and a degree you weren't planning on getting. You want a way that really want a way in that doesn't require going back to school. Maybe you've spent decades getting good at something, teaching, nursing, running a shop, managing people, or even raising a family, which in its own operations job, right? And you're watching this new technology arrive and quietly wondering whether it still has room for what you know. Maybe you're just curious. You keep hearing these two words, AI and blockchain, at dinner, on the news, from your kids or your grandkids, and you'd like someone to explain them like a human being for once. Wherever you're standing in that, you're not behind. I want to say that clearly before we start because this hour is not going to be a race. Nothing today requires you to know anything. So let me show you why I believe something real has changed, not my opinion. It's in the headlines. Last year, Collins Dictionary, the people who literally decide what counts as English, named their word of the year. And that word was vibe coding. Vibe coding means building software by describing what you want in plain language to an AI. The dictionary now has a word for people like you and for people like me. Take a look at this. An 8-year-old girl built a working chatbot in 45 minutes. It was her second session ever. And I want you to hold that number 45 minutes, her second try, and she was only 8. Let's move to another example. Two teenagers built an app in high school, a calorie counter where you snap a photo of your food. It grew to over $30 million in revenue in its first year, and a company called MyFitnessPal bought it. Basically, what they did is they described what they wanted, and AI did the building. And the New York Times ran this headline, and it's from one of our own tech columnists. Not a coder? With AI, just having an idea can be enough. That's the paper of record, saying the quiet part out loud. Now, something did change. That's the only conclusion that can fit here. So let's look at how big that change is. Because if the headlines make you feel like it's all just hype, that's a really good instinct. But here are the numbers underneath them. 1 in 3. That's how much of the new computer code at Microsoft and at Google is now written by AI. Their own CEOs said so, and it's on the record. The two biggest software companies on the planet let AI write a third of their code. 25%. A quarter of the newest startups in Y Combinator, the most famous startup program in the world, built their products with code that was 95% AI generated. These are professional founders choosing to build this way. And this one is my favorite. 2 years ago, when AI was tested on fixing real software bugs, it could solve about 2% of them. That's only 2% 2 years ago. Today, it solves roughly 75%. In 2 years, it went from failing almost everything to passing almost everything. So here's the takeaway. The professionals already build this way. This is not some experimental toy that you're just going to be gambling on. The tools are ready, and the only question left is whether you are going to be picking them up. Now, everything I showed you is other people. So let me put down my own cards on the table. None of these people are professional programmers. The 8-year-old, the teenager, the columnist, none of them. And neither was I. Here's my actual background. Over 25 years in business development and sales operations, my job for most of my career was opening revenue for companies, taking an idea, making it real. And to do that, I worked with everybody. I worked with content writers, social media managers, graphic designers, developers. I knew what needed to be done. I knew what the output should have looked like when it was right, but I was never ever the person doing any of those steps. My skill was the vision, the judgment, and keeping the whole thing moving. Then AI showed up, and I realized something that honestly took me a while to believe. I now have a partner that fills every one of those gaps. Today, I'm learning to do all of it on my own time and at my own pace, and at little to no cost compared to the payroll that all those roles used to require. I've built my website. I've built a live map that tracks all of the AI and blockchain legislation across 50 states. And guess what? It's automated, so it refreshes itself every week. I built those. Me, the person that's never coded by hand. And that's not really a brag. I didn't want it to mean that way. It's just the evidence for everything I'm about to tell you. So here's the one idea I want you to carry out of this room, even if you forget everything else. You don't have to learn before you build. You learn by building. Our whole lives, we were taught the opposite order. First the course, then the certificate, then permission, then finally, maybe the doing. AI flips the sequence. You start doing, and the learning happens along the way. Now, I can hear the objection because I had it too. So, expertise doesn't matter anymore? No, expertise matters as much as ever. It's just moved in the process. Experts used to stand at the front of the process as gatekeepers you needed before you even started. Now they come in at the right time to review what you've built and make it better. Fewer chefs between your vision and something that is real. But the chefs still matter. And later I'll tell you exactly when to call one. And while we're here, let me plant a small thought. Don't answer out loud, just hold it within. What is the thing you've been putting off with the words, once I learn how? Keep it in your pocket and we'll come back for it. All right, so to use the tools with confidence, you deserve to know what's actually inside of them. This isn't math homework, and I promise. One story, and it comes from a book called The Alignment Problem, which I really, really recommend. About a decade ago, researchers at Google figured out how to turn words into numbers. And once the words were numbers, you could do arithmetic with them. Watch this. On the screen, it says king minus man plus woman. And what word does that equal? Queen. So let's go to the next example. Paris minus France plus Italy equals Rome. The system read millions and millions of examples of human writing, and it learned the patterns itself. That's the word I want you to understand. It's called training. Machines aren't just given facts. It's not a calculator for words where if you put in 1 plus 1, you're always going to get 2. It's probabilistic, actually, and it's a system that is trained. They're shown examples, mountains of them, until the patterns are emerged. When you hear someone say a model is trained, that's all it means. It read a lot, it noticed a lot. Hold that because the next part of the story is where it gets really human. In November of 2015, two researchers were playing with this word math in an informal get together. A PhD student and a Microsoft researcher. Laptops were open and they were just exploring. One of them typed doctor minus man plus woman, and the answer came back as nurse. They tried another computer programmer minus man plus a woman, and the system came back with the word homemaker. Now let's pause and really let that sit in. Nobody taught the machine that. Feels like there's some bias in this system. And that's exactly the point. The machine learned our language faithfully, perfectly even, including the patterns that we're not proud of. It read everything we wrote and it handed our own reflection back to us. One of those researchers said, quote, we jointly realized, hey, there's something wrong here, end quote. I want you to notice who caught it. It wasn't a type of software. It wasn't a test. It was a person looking at the result and saying, that's not right. AI predicts what it saw. It takes a person to ask whether it's right. Remember that sentence? Because it's the reason our hour exists. The machines need you. Here are two more terms. Parameters. The dial a model tunes in as it learns. Today's models tune billions. And in fact, within the last month, there are models that have trillions of examples. Inference. This is when a model uses what it learns to answer you. So once AI trains on all of this information, there are special mathematical algorithms that live in this step called inference. And those algorithms are helping the model predict what the answer will be based on all the material it has in its bucket, those parameters. And then from that process of understanding the parameters it has access to, the mathematical equations it uses to think about the response kicks you out the answer that you're asking the AI for. So that was 10 years old. Okay. That's 10 years ago. And I don't want to leave you frightened back in 2015 times. Here's where things actually stand today. Modern models don't just read the internet. Okay. And they don't just hope for the best anymore. They actually learn from human feedback. Millions of people have rated millions of answers. And this teaches the system what's helpful and what's not helpful and what's honest. There is a word for the whole field of work, and it's called alignment. It alignment is teaching an AI to behave the way we intend it to, even when nobody's looking. It's literally the name of the institute where I work. And this is a serious discipline now, and it's actually really come a long way. The performance followed. Remember the number from earlier, 2 years from failing most everything when it comes to coding to 75% passing everything that was thrown at them? The progress is real, it's measured, and it's why all those professionals trusted enough to build with it every single day. But one thing has not changed, and I need you to hear it plainly. The answer is still not proof. When it comes to coding, coding either works or it doesn't work. But when AI is giving you answers and creating things and editing things and giving you ideas and giving you advice, you can ask the same question multiple times and get different answers. So the answer is still not proof. A model can tell you something beautifully, confidently, and it can do it in your perfect language. For my case, it's English, and it can still be wrong. So I want you to hold on to that problem, put it on a shelf in your mind, right next to the thing you're keeping in your pocket, because in this hour, we are going to solve it. First, let's get you comfortable with actually working with this AI machine. Three things about working with AI that nobody tells beginners. First, you're not really talking to AI. You're talking to a model. A model is a trained brain inside any AI product, and all of them have one, whether it says so or not. Once you own that word, the product names stop being confusing. ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, those are storefronts. The model is the engine inside. And knowing to ask which model is this and what is that model good at is the difference between shopping blind and shopping smart. So here are the big ones on the screen with what each is well known for. ChatGPT from OpenAI, that's the household name, a strong all-arounder that talks and sees images. Claude from Anthropic, known for deep and careful work, writing, analysis, building projects. Your tools that you already use every day. Gmail, work Gmail, search, all of that's going to be working effortlessly within your work systems. Copilot from Microsoft built right into Windows and Office, and Llama from Meta. That's the open source one that developers really take and adapt to. Notice nobody on this list is the best. They're just different, the way that vehicles are different. And that's the professional secret. You don't need the best model for every task. People who do this well route each job to the right model, and the quick ones for quick work and the deep ones for hard work. One project might quietly use three different models. And it's also how you keep costs down. But that's where you're going, not where you start. For now, the move is simple. Don't pick perfectly, just pick one and start. Any of the ones on the screen. The differences matter far less than the action of starting. Second thing that nobody tells you, there are two ways of working with any model, and knowing which one you're in really changes everything. The first is prompting. Prompting is probably what most of you have experienced. You've opened up a free version of ChatGPT or Claude, you open up a chat session and you start asking it to revise an email, analyze this document, and ask a specific question for it. That's one clear ask, one clear answer. Prompting is summarize this article, draft that email, explain this contract in plain English. Prompting is perfect for quick tasks. And honestly, it's where most people should start because every prompt teaches you how the model listens and gives you experience with how the model moves. The second is looping. And this is where building happens. A loop is a working conversation. You describe what you want, you look at what came back, you tell the AI what's wrong with it, and you go again. Describe, look, correct, repeat. The app that teenagers the teenagers built for counting calories, that was a loop. My legislation map, hundreds of loops. And one trip that will save you the real frustration, when you correct, be specific. So telling the AI the second paragraph in this output is too formal. I need it to sound more casual. I need it to sound like me. Here's an example of something that I wrote on social media. This is how I sound. That's going to get you a better loop result than just try again. This isn't right. Do it again. That will get you a coin flip. So, prompt for tasks and looping is for projects. Two more words that you now own. Third thing, and it's the most important one. What happens when the machine is wrong? Because it will be wrong, and it will be wrong in a very particular way. First, it won't hesitate. It won't sound unsure. It won't go, I think this is the answer. No, AI is going to sound confident and be wrong at the same time. And there's a word for that. It's called hallucination. When a model confidently invents something that was never true. And if you think that that it only trips up amateurs, take a look at this. Here's the number on the screen. AI invented legal citations, and that's fake court cases that sound completely real. They've now shown up in over 1,300 court cases around the world. What happened is that these court cases were filed by lawyers, professionals with law degrees who literally didn't even check the AI output that they got. So they asked AI to do a project. They wanted help filing a court case. They asked AI to cite any of the legal cases that could help support their claim, and AI made up some of the cases. So remember that doctor minus man equation? The same machine, same reason. It predicts what sounds right based on what it saw. Usually, what sounds right is right, but sometimes it isn't. And that tone never changes. Now, you might wonder why the coding numbers from earlier are so good if AI makes things up. Here's the secret: code checks itself. Okay. It either runs or it doesn't run. That's very deterministic, like a calculator. 1 + 1 = 2 all the time. But facts, they don't check themselves. That's your job. And it's a job you already know how to do. Verify before you act on anything that matters. So let's step back because underneath everything I've shown you, there are really just three shifts happening, and every one of them moves the games towards you. First, knowing how gives you a great way to start asking great questions. The machine really knows how. So if today you wanted to ask, how do I create a website? You're going to be as specific as you can and say, I want to build a website for this. I want it to have these kinds of pieces of content on there. I want it to look like this, and I want it to be affordable. Here is my budget. And even though you don't know how to vet different website platforms, you don't know how much the budget normally should be. Those are additional questions that you will ask AI to do the research for you on. Let it be an assistant that brings you information so that you can become a decision maker and not the gopher, basically. So the machine holds really a lot more how. You just have to ask what. And what it cannot do is know what's worth asking. That's a job that you have. MIT Sloan calls this asking better questions. And it's defining it's the defining leadership skill in the AI era. You've been asking sharp questions your whole life. Do it in the AI chat too. Second, doing the work gives way to judging the work. So just as I said, the machine produces, you decide if it's right, if it's good, if it's true. Remember in the research lab, the machine produced nurse and the human said, whoa, 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 there's something wrong here. That's your job now. You're the editor, you're the product owner, and you're the one with the taste. Third, credentials. Credentials give way to domain knowledge. What you know about your field, your customers, your community, the thing you've done for 20 years, that's the scarce ingredient. A study of executives put it in one sentence, and it's the one on the screen. The quality of the AI response depends on how well you define the problem. Defining problems well is what experienced people do. It's like a professor giving homework to a class. You usually have to tell the class what the topic is about, how long you want the report to be, what font requirements and formatting requirements there are. You want citations to prove the work and the contentions that are within that report. You'll be doing those same things with AI, being very specific on what you want. And if you can't think of what the specific thing is, then start to strategize with AI. Start asking the bigger questions. Start with an idea and say, I have an idea about this. Can you go find additional information to support that? Can you find peer-reviewed journals that cover this topic? Can you find others in the field that also agree with me? Can you find a competitor? These are all great questions. And so you have to become a master asker. So I want to put those shifts in perspective because if you're the most experienced person in the room, this slide is for you. Think about the last 30 years. Personal computers, the internet, smartphones, social media, and every single time there was a new skill that you and I had to learn before the technology was useful. Typing and files and folders. Then we had to learn how to use search engines and we had to understand what a link was. And then app stores came our way and touch screens and then posting social media and following and hashtags. Every time technology came, we had to learn a new skill first. In fact, every single time the same story played out. The young picked it up instantly. There's actually a term invented for it, digital natives. And everyone else, we got labeled resistors, laggards, and we were kind of in the zone of like, my kids program my remote. 30 years of being told new technology belongs to the young. So let me give you three reasons that that story just ended. Advantage number one. This technology speaks in plain whatever your language is. For me, it's English, or yours could be Spanish. The interface is a sentence. The skill that you've always had to learn first. It's really gone. You don't have to learn in order to use AI. You have to learn how to type sentences and great questions. The advantage too. If you have ever managed people, you already know this job. You delegate clearly, you review the work, you give specific feedback. Microsoft's own research says that every worker is about to become what they call an agent boss, someone who delegates to and manages AI. Some of you have been a boss for 20 years. You've been rehearsing for this your whole career. Advantage number three, the one that ties it together. Knowing your field and knowing how to lead people finally beat knowing the interface. Experience stopped being the thing to apologize for. It's actually now an asset. Take a second just for yourself. Which one of those advantages is yours? Just know which one you're claiming. All right, so the most practical stretch of the hour, and this is how I actually work every day, and this is the part to photograph. Three phases. Phase one, before you start with a task or project you know well. This is the single best trick in the whole talk. When you know the territory, you can spot the machine's mistake instantly, and you learn exactly where it needs more direction from you or your expertise. And basically, what happens is that your expertise becomes your safety net. Two, start where mistakes are cheap. Don't let AI start spending your money or deleting things. The first set of tasks or projects should be the kind where if it makes a mistake, it really just costs you an afternoon. Doesn't require you to get a lawyer ASAP. Number three, strategy first in a file. Before anything gets built, have a conversation and plan with the AI. Ask all of your questions, have the AI do the research, compare the tools, estimate a budget, and save it all in one document. That file becomes the project's memory. Four, feed it your vision. Context, context, context. Screenshot things. Give it links to things that you think are a good example of what you're asking for. If you're asking for design, screenshot things that you find beautiful. Give it ideas. It's kind of like having one of those vision boards. AI needs to be drilled down and it needs to be filtered down so it specifically kind of understands, are you going for natural shades? Are you going for blues? Are you going for greens? The more you give it, the more that the output is going to resemble what you're looking for. And here's my favorite move, and write this one down. Ask the AI to interview you. Just say this, ask me questions until you understand what I want. And it'll ask better questions than you think to answer on your own. Phase two, while you work, these go quick and every one of them really, really earns its place. As we continue, number five, let the AI write the prompts. Once your plan exists, tell it, write the instructions for the next step. I use this quite a lot. Every time I get to the end or we kind of finish one step out of this big plan that we have, before I wrap up that chat session from completing that one task, I ask it to give me a prompt to open up my next chat fresh with so that I can continue the work. And instead of me having to open up that chat and go through and explain to the next instance that, hey, I've done this, we've completed that, but we're still needing to do X, Y, and Z, the AI can do it for you. And it's far more specific because it already has your plan. And that'll save you a lot of time. And it'll also be a process in which every single prompt is really great quality. Number six, keep a running to-do list in your files. The first time you use AI, you're going to get a lot of ideas. So once you know what it can do, you're going to be like, oh, I need to do that. I need to do this. And things can get really organized, disorganized really fast. So use your AI and tell it in a simple sentence, hey, this just sparked an idea. Let's put that into a parking lot. Let's put that onto a to-do list. And I might recall on you to pull that to-do list later so that we can go through and I can make a plan for when I'm going to do these things. Number seven, snapshot. Snapshot is a very unique term. And if you don't know what it means that when you ask your AI to take a snapshot of your system, a snapshot of your work so far, it's an opportunity for the AI to take us basically a snapshot of everything that you've built and hold it in place. That way, if you guys make a big change, you guys incorporate a new part of your plan and you don't know if it's going to look nice, if it's going to look good, if it's going to mean, be the answer that you need, then you can go forward and implement that change. And if something went wrong, you can tell your AI, let's restore back to that snapshot. It's kind of like what we use on our laptops, right? We have a restore point. So it's a good practice that before you go on with big changes in whatever project you're working on, have the AI take a snapshot of your system. That way, if mistakes are made or if it's not what you wanted, you can revert back or restore back to before that step. Number eight, One project, one conversation. So I mentioned it before. Once you have a plan, the chat, like if you're in ChatGPT or Anthropic's chat session, it doesn't go on forever. There's limitations to how far you can go in one chat. So once you have a plan and your AI is holding on to that plan, use each chat session to tackle a task. And then remember, before you move on to the next task, you ask it for a prompt to start that next instance. 9, ask for options, not answers. When you get very specific and say, go find me the best platform to build my website on, you're letting AI make that decision. You want to remain the decision maker. So you will have your AI agent go and bring you back 3 options. And you want to press it to really convince you why those are good options. Or you might ask for 5. You might go through those 5 options and not feel like those are the right options for you. So then you'll go back and again be very specific about why those were not the great options. And when they go and search again and do the research for you, they're going to know what needs to be different in their search. Number 10, if you don't understand something, just ask and tell it why you don't understand it. If you're coding with AI and you don't understand code like me, there were times where it would make recommendations to do X, Y, and Z. I had no idea what it was telling me to do. So then I actually took the time to sit down and say, what is a bash command? What is this curl command? What does this mean? I literally told the agent, I am not a coder. I don't know these terms. And so I need it to be explained to me in layman's terms so that I can make a decision here. And it's going to be the most patient teacher you will ever have. And that's why you do, and then you learn. 11, go at your own pace. AI is fast, but it doesn't mean that the output is good. And as you start to learn AI, and maybe as you start to look on social media, look at videos, look at posts about AI, your algorithm works based on what you're interested in. And you're going to start to get flooded with a lot of AI. This is new, this new feature, it can do this now. I did this in 5 minutes. Don't let any of that stop you um, and make you feel stressed or pressed to go any faster. Truly go at your own pace. Stay focused on your project and your task and get through it. Like slow and steady is really going to win the race here. And all this time, it might feel like it's like a lot of time in the beginning to create that context to train your AI on what you want, who you are, what your voice is. But all of this foundational work in the beginning is really going to allow you to work really fast later. So, phase 3, before you trust it, 2 habits, and they're the ones that are here to protect you. Always inspect what you expect, okay? No matter what AI puts out, if you use it, you're the one accountable for that information, not the tool. So ask for sources and make sure that you're checking everything you expect. 13, for big projects, pay an expert to review the work. Instead of paying designers and developers to actually build it from scratch for you while you tell them your vision, get to a point with AI where maybe you felt like you have built it with AI and now you need an expert to come in because remember, you built it asking the questions. And sometimes you don't know if you're missing out on asking the right questions. So, this is a great time where you bring in an expert to take a look at what you've already built and to find the gaps and to make it even better. So, an answer from AI is never proof. AI can write anything, it can say anything, it can sound like anyone, and nothing inside of it can prove any of it. So, here's the question the whole technology world has been circling. In a world where machines can make anything, how do we prove what's true? So, let me introduce you to the second machine. This machine is built for exactly that, blockchain. Okay, and I want you to forget everything you've heard about coins and crypto bros for the next 10 minutes because underneath all of that noise is something really embarrassingly simple. A blockchain is a shared record book, a ledger that lots of computers keep together, and it's where every entry is public and permanent and checkable. Once something is written in, nobody can quietly go back and erase it. So here's your next word, immutable. Once it's written, it cannot be changed by anyone. And notice what this machine doesn't do. Okay, blockchain does not think, it doesn't predict anything, and it doesn't create anything. All a blockchain does really, really well is remember. It remembers perfectly and it remembers forever, and it can't be changed. So AI guesses beautifully, and blockchain remembers perfectly. And it's kind of boring on purpose. So blockchain kind of works a little bit more like a calculator. It's deterministic. What you put in typically will get you the same result. You buy $1 of USDT, you buy $1 of USDT. So let me say this clearly before we go one step further, because it matters to me. Everything I'm about to show you is blockchain, and it's not a coin, it's not an investment, it's absolutely not an investment advice. So we're here for what the machine does, not for what the casino of crypto can be. Four things it does. It comes up, and every one of them, of these examples I'm about to go through, is it's living alongside AI. So first, I'm going to give you some use cases of where blockchain really supports AI. When AI acts for you and answers for you and spends for you, you want a record of what it did, and you never want that AI to edit that record. So this is the law that's already in parts of the world, and the European Union now requires tamper-proof logs for high-risk AI systems. It's not just suggested, it's actually required. And builders are anchoring those records into blockchain. Now, here's another word for you, provenance. This is where something came from and who touched it along the way. That's what blockchain can do for you, is show you the provenance. If you see a deep fake AI, you see somebody who, Joe Rogan, and it looks like a deep fake, it could just be AI. You want to be able to click on that thing and see, did it come from him? Is this actually real? And blockchain and the term provenance can help along with that. Second, proof of humanity. In a world of AI, it's kind of a strange phrase, right? But it's needed because you don't know if you're talking to AI, you don't know if you're talking to a human. So here, 18 million people have already verified once that they're a real human being through a system called World ID. And now apps like Zoom and Tinder can check, is this a real person without ever learning your name? Think about a video call where you've seen the face is very real, but you're not sure. That's not science fiction. That's happening today. And the European Union is rolling out a digital identity wallet. Every EU country is going to be required to offer one. That's 450 million people that are covered. The bigger idea underneath both, you hold your credentials instead of 100 companies holding it for you. Third, privacy. And this is the one that sounds like magic, so stay with me. There's a technology that lets you prove something about yourself without revealing that information behind it. And it's called zero proof knowledge. So here's your other term. You're next to the last word. And I don't need you to know like how it works more than you need to know how your phone compresses a photo or how a microphone works. I don't know either of those things. You'll honestly never see this machinery. You'll just stop handing your data over to strangers, both human strangers and AI ones. For 30 years, the internet's had to deal with like, give me your data or you're not going to get in. And that today ends the deal. So, fourth, this is the one to watch over the next few years. AI agents are starting to shop for you, book for you, pay for you, which raises a question, what should make you slightly like it should make you nervous? Like, how do you hand your credit card to an AI agent? And if an AI agent can go confidently wrong, how is there any way that this could be safe? Well, here's an example. Here's how the payment world answered. Visa and MasterCard, the two biggest payment networks on earth, they both built systems for AI agents. And in both designs, the agent never holds your card. It gets a token, a kind of permission slip with your limits baked in. It has the spending caps. It has the approved merchants only that you want to work with. It's got your rules and it's enforced by math, not by trust. I call it giving an agent an allowance, not a blank check. And notice the patterns across all four of these: the record that it can't edit, the identity that it can't fake, the proof that reveals nothing, and the allowance that it can't exceed. None of this slows down AI. It actually makes AI safe enough to actually hand things to. So let's put the two machines side by side. AI creates and blockchain authenticates. AI can make anything, but it can't prove any of it, and not its sources, not its outputs, not even who's asking. Blockchain can prove everything it holds, but it can't think at all. Each one's weakness is the other one's strength. And that's why these two technologies keep showing up together. And that's why this conference has both words in the name. And here's the part that should make you sit up, especially if you're starting from zero. The big established companies have to bolt all of it into decades of old systems. You have no legacy systems. Starting fresh at a frontier is the advantage, and it may be the first time in your life this advantage runs in your favor. Now, one last thing before I hand you your homework, because I don't want anyone leaving with the wrong impression. Everything I just showed you about blockchain, you're not required to build any of it. Here's the real move: build with blockchain in mind. That just means making choices today that leave the door open. Keep clean records of what your product does. Let your users own their own data. Don't weld yourself into any one platform. Do that, and the day you want to plug into any of this, verification, identity, payments, your project will be ready. And if blockchain isn't your passion, that's allowed. Staying aware of where it's going, that way, when you've done this for this hour, it already puts you ahead of most everyone that's building today. Blockchain ready beats blockchain first. And being aware is really being at the frontier. So here's your weekend if you want it. Pick a problem you personally have, not a business idea, not something impressive, like a really small one. You can even make it personal. Like if you want AI to create a diet plan for you, pick out a shopping list to create recipes for you and your family. Pick one thing that's small that you're very aware of, that you're good at, and work with the AI. To open that AI tool, describe it in plain sentences, and expect about three failures and you needing to course correct it, and then just ship something really, really tiny. In fact, you don't even have to, go into too much depth. Just say, I want to build blank because blank. I've never coded. Before we build anything, interview me about what I want. Then write me a plain language plan, steps, tools, time, and a budget. We'll go at my pace. An hour ago, about 40 minutes ago, I told you the barrier was never really code and asked you to stop waiting for permission to learn first. You don't have to learn before you build, you learn by building. And now you have everything you need to start. And you know what both machines are, and you know how they fit together in your own words, and you have the habits to keep you safe. I want to say thank you to the Maryland Blockchain Association, Jackie Cooper and Matt, and all the people who put this amazing week together. Again, thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with me. And if you'd like to keep in touch, please visit my website at carmenonchain.ai. Every day I have brand new news about AI agents, AI governance, AI ethics, decentralization, blockchain. I also have play guides on how the two technologies help each other. And when the important information really comes out, I send out a blog talking about how it's going to work in your favor. I hope to see you, meet you, and talk to you about what you're building in the future. Thank you again, and have a great weekend.